talked about that with me taking over the firm, and he would still be part of council and helping with life plan. So when we were talking about it, everyone had kind of easily transitioned to me and everything, and so we thought, maybe it wouldn't be necessary for him to come down here. And I have an update, though, about him that I'll show you here, so that way you can at least get an update on how Hannah's doing, how his new office is doing, and some pictures of his family. But yes, he won't be here yet. Another thing planned too. So I just wanted to let everyone know that in case they're wondering where Hannon is, but he'll just get to deal with me today. All right. So Hannon over the years had his family here and had introduced them. And the past couple of years that I had been involved here with the annual client meeting, my husband was usually hunting, and so he wasn't here to come in person. But today I have my husband Jesse and my sons Holden and Bo here. So we'll bring them up just to introduce them quick, because I know Jesse has plans to go back to the Lake Bend, Minnesota area where we're from to go hunting yet today. So we'll bring them up and introduce them really quick. I know you've seen pictures of them over the last couple of years, but I figured everyone always likes to see them in person too, so. Bo is the social one, waving at all of you. All right, so this is Bo. Can you say hi to everybody? Hi.
Have him stand up on my thing.
Oh, you guys will stay right there. All right. This is Bo. Bo is 3. He's in 3's preschool this year. Okay. You want to tell him how old you are? 5. This is Holden. He's not as social. He's a little more shy. And so he's in 4's preschool this year. And they're busy. They love to be outside. They're really excited today. They're going back to their grandparents' farm. That's where they like to be and get Honda rides and play with the cows and the dogs and stuff there. So they're really excited to go there after this. And then this is my husband, Jesse. I've told some people that he works for Siemens Gamesa Wind Tower Company, where he is located in Primgar, Iowa, is where his site is. So he has to drive a little bit, but he's got a company truck, so that's nice. So he's the service site manager for that. And I think my boys are tapped out for this right now, but I just wanted to let you guys see them and get to see them in person. So there they are. You had to wear the cowboy boots today. No, you may go to the park. See you later. Bo's waving to everybody. Okay, so can everyone here see the slides okay? Everyone in the back, wave your hand at me if you can hear and see okay. Perfect. Okay, so a Hannon update. So obviously all of you know by now that he has moved to Missouri, has opened a new office there. And so he's got his office all up and running, and he's got multiple clients now, and he's doing great. I know that maybe the last update you had on him was that he had his family living in, he called it a cabin, out in Missouri. So now they got a nice big house and things now. So his wife Holly is very excited about that, to have running water and things like that. So yes, they're settling in great, and I think this coming week he's moving his parents in with him from Utah, or Idaho, I think it's Utah. So he's going to have his parents living with him, and he's still got the 3 youngest boys, Edson, Anson, and Torin. I don't remember which one is which, but those are the 3 boys that are still living with him in Holly and going to school in Missouri now, and it sounds like they're settling in really nice. I think the oldest one over here in the white, he's really big into marching band and stuff, so that's their update on the youngest 3. And then the oldest 3 here, so Faith, Zadok in the back, and then Eliza and her husband. So Zadok and Faith are going to BYU, Idaho, the church's school you've probably heard him talk about. So that was, I think, moving Faith into that, but both Faith and Zadok are there now that Zadok is back from his mission. And then a big update for Hannon is he's now grandpa. Eliza had a baby a couple months ago this fall, September, I believe, Lillian. And that is a quick picture of her. He gave me permission to share these pictures. So I figured most of you would appreciate that, to know that he's grandpa now and has a little granddaughter. Is everyone okay with the lights being a little darker? Perfect, I'm guessing you can see better. Okay, so a firm update. So, like we talked about last year, the office is now Ford and Lustfield Law Office. I think everyone has situated into that now. And we're still located, the same location on the square. And an update, obviously I'm the senior partner, the sole owner, so I know that Hannon's name is still part of the office name, but I am the sole owner, sole partner, and he's acting as of counsel. So I talk to him weekly. He's there to be there when I need him. And obviously, with Life Plan, you still have the opportunity to talk to him if you need to, but the idea is come to me first, and I should be able to help you with whatever you need. If we need to circle in Hannon, we can certainly do that. But as these 11 months have gone by, it seems that everyone has been able to work with me. We've been able to get your needs met, get your questions answered, and haven't had to need to worry about calling Hannon in or anything. So the transition has gone really nice, but he is still going to be that of counsel for the next 5 years.
Some people were having a hard time. It's about as clear as we can get it.
Okay, I think that's about as clear as we can get it. So I apologize for that if some people have a hard time reading, but know that you have your packets of information. So in there, we'll go over those here in a minute. I forgot to go through that at the beginning. So let's just do that now. So we have your packets of information in there. So then you will see that you have these slides to this show. So if you can't see it up here, word for word, you can follow along with the slides that we printed out, 3 slides per page. And we printed it out so then that way you have lines to write any notes as we go through. And if you have any questions, just like previous years, just let us know, raise your hand, and Abby will, if we need to, Abby can go to you with the microphone, so that way we can hear your questions, especially if you're more in the back. And then, as always, we will leave questions at the end too, if you'd like to, and as I'm kind of tearing down and things, you can certainly come up and talk to me and ask questions more one-on-one too. I know the line can get pretty long, so I recommend you guys to take advantage of your no additional charge Life Plan phone calls if you have a specific question for me rather than waiting in line today. So the packet, you have the slides. Also in the packet, I forgot to bring one up with me. There's a biography of me in there. So we have that at every client meeting. I have it at every workshop. So a little bit about me. I think you guys probably know, but in case some of you haven't been at Life Plan meetings lately or haven't met me, I'll give a little overview of that. So I am from Elkton, South Dakota, and I graduated from the law school in Vermillion, South Dakota, USC Knudsen School of Law. And I have been practicing law now for a little over 6 years. Thank you, Abby. So my ongoing joke is I always tell everybody, especially when I'm doing new workshops, like, I know I look really young. I just probably graduated high school, but I'm 33 now. I've been practicing for 6 years. So for those of you who haven't met me, and so I was working in Worthington prior to coming to work with Hannon as an associate attorney in 2021. I am the co-author of our medical assistance planning booklet and a member of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. So that's the biography. And I think those were both of the things that were on your left side. Then on the right side of your packet, we are going to be doing, if you remember those yellow citations that Hannon has done over the years, we are going to be doing that differently this year. We have it on a green paper. It's like a bookmark on a green paper that says reminder. So instead of passing all of these out at the end for people who need them, everyone has it in their folder as a reminder to complete your to-do list that we're going to go through in the slides this morning. So I'll circle back to this and let you know what you should do with it if you need to do anything with it. The yellow page, your client update program, your client to-do list. So again, we're going to be going through the slides on this of your to-do list, part of your commitment to the Life Plan program and how to keep your plans updated and keep them the best they can be. It is your action items here. And so we're also doing this a little differently. In the past, I think Hannon had said, you know, put your name on it, date it, turn it back in and let us know you've done these things. So obviously it is important that you complete these things to make sure your plan is the best it can be, but we don't necessarily need to have these back. We want these to be with you to remind you to do these, and we don't need them back like we've asked in previous years. Okay, another big change that we have done this year is the client suggestion form. So it's a little bit more in-depth this year, but with this being my first year as owning the office and first annual client meeting, we want to hear feedback from you guys on what we can do better, things we shouldn't do anymore, any suggestions on what you'd like to see and not see. So we have how satisfied you are with the firm, what are we doing well, what are some things we can improve on, and then on the back, so it's front and back, so you'll see that it says turnover there. So keep in mind that you have the back also to fill out, and for any suggestions that you may have. I know that we really tried hard. We had you fill out these last year, and I know obviously it's been a big ordeal with having this tape and things, so that is something we're making for sure that we have that good to go, and it's going to be posted within 30 days of this meeting on our YouTube link, and I'll show you throughout the slides where you can always find that link as well. So we take your suggestions to heart. We want to make sure that, you know, you guys are the heart of our office. So we want to make sure that we are making you happy and doing things to show our appreciation to you. So we're making sure we have this videoed. And another suggestion we had was adding some more food options besides donuts. So you might have saw that we have bins of like trail mix and granola bars and things there too. So you know, let us know if you like that idea. Then we know if we can keep doing those drinks and things like that. Let us know. Also, it seems to be over the years that a lot of law changes aren't happening before January 1st of the next year really anymore. So That's why Cannon always had it at the end of November. And I know it doesn't work for a lot of people if they're still in the fields or the snowbirds. And we realize the weather doesn't always cooperate, but this is why we've always had it in November, so we knew as much law changes as we could, because that's one of the main important things about this meeting is updating you on law changes. So with that's why we always have it in November. But since the changes don't seem to happen until after January, we want your thoughts on starting to transition this meeting to spring. And I know all the farmers are probably like, oh my goodness, that doesn't work either. But we're talking about if we can make it work before planting season in the spring. Maybe some people have traveled back from the south or wherever they go. But we thought it might be more beneficial to you guys to be able to provide some more law updates in person if we do it after January 1st of that year. So we have some suggestions on here on this sheet if you want to keep it in November, December. So, I mean, the annual client meeting and the trustees training. The trustees training is always in December, a couple of weeks after the annual client meeting. So we would shift that as well to the spring. So wanted to know your thoughts on that, if you want to keep them in November and December, or if we should start transitioning this meeting to have it in the springtime before planting starts. And then there's a box for other, if you have any other kind of suggestions on a different date or month you think maybe would work. Obviously, we can't fit everyone's schedules with a couple hundred of you that we have, but we want to try to make it to where you can get the best out of it and the most people can come. So please let us know on that. And we have a little teaser. We have it in the presentation here, but we have a new website that just launched finally. So I know a lot of you have gone on to Hannah's old website and things, but now we have a new website, and I'm going to get you guys the link, and we'll show you a little sneak peek of that. So what we're wanting, if you'd be interested, obviously you don't have to, the last thing there on the back of your sheet is if you'd like to provide some client testimonials with star ratings that we can use for our new website. So feel free, obviously these are optional, your name is optional, you don't have to write your name on there, but we would really love you to fill this out. And I think what we'll have you do, if it works, is we can have you leave it up at the table with Allison when you leave, or if that's kind of bogged up, you can just leave it at the table where you sit, and we'll grab it from there. Okay, so that should be what's in the packet. Also with the firm update, as always, I will continue to travel to you, to your homes for any meetings if you can't make it. I travel up to like an hour and a half. I'm really flexible. I'm willing to do that to get to you guys. So, or any advisor office. I know I've done a lot of meetings in accountants' offices, financial advisor offices. We've been doing a lot of meetings through video, through Zoom or Teams. And so what's nice about that is the financial advisors have coordinated with us. And so they have you come to their office, their local office, and they will have the video set up with me so you all can meet with me. So know that is also an option, because I know not all of you have access to a computer or things, or know how to work a video chat. So know that that's an option. We can always talk to your advisors and accountants and things on if we need to create a video chat. And I'll meet halfway. We have clients that are from the city's area. I know last week I just traveled to St. Peter to meet some people from St. Paul, and we met at the library. So again, that's an option too, is meeting halfway, and there's usually always a library we can go to have a private meeting. Okay, I know some of you haven't been able to come to the office, so we wanted to give you a building update. We had kind of spruced up the inside a little bit with some painting and new decorations. So I just wanted to show you guys a little update on that if you haven't made it to the office. The outside picture, you probably can't see it as well, but we got our new decal up on the door and our new sign up in the front. The goal is that sign will hang from that awning there eventually, but right now it's in the window for now, and it got the new signs up and things, so I just wanted to show you that. Okay, our personnel and staff at the office. So it's changed a little bit from last year. We still have the same 3 staff, but we have some different roles that each of them are playing in the office now. So Abby Simon, stand up and wave at everybody, Abby. I think most of you have met her. Her new role at the office, Michelle had left us in April of this year, and so Abby's new role at the office is Abby is the office manager. She's the one who is keeping the office running, making sure that all the supplies and things are stocked, and just keeping it all together and keeping meals together as well. So she's the main rock of the office, keeping all that together as the office manager. And obviously she's still the client services representative. So she's the main one when you call the office, when you stop by the office. She's the one that you see and are talking to help you with whatever you need. And then she also, she's got a lot of things on her plate. She also is now the long-term care coordinator. That was what Michelle was doing as well, was helping us with medical assistance plans and helping with medical assistance applications. So Abby is now also helping me with those as well. Some of you may have worked with her on that already, but she's the one that will contact you to help get your MA applications filled out. And then we still have Allison Tordick. She is back there. Hi, Allison. She is still a funding coordinator. So back when Michelle was here, she was an assistant funding coordinator with Michelle. Now she is the funding coordinator, and she also has added a role of administration coordinator. That was something Michelle helped us with as well. So Abby and Allison have really been a big help with taking on new roles and making sure the office can continue to run and help you guys the best we can. So those are their other roles, and of course their legal assistants too, helping with any other thing that we need to, drafting documents for you, things like that. And then Michelle Nelson, so I've been talking about Michelle. She was our prior office manager, funding coordinator, administration coordinator. So she had left in April, and she wanted more of an accounting job. She's like less legal stuff. So I can't remember what company she works for, but Odson Underground here in town. I'm just doing just strictly like accounting stuff. So that is why she left our office, but obviously she is still doing our bookkeeping. With taking over the office and all these things, I know Hannon always did his own bookkeeping. His kids were all grown and his stay-at-home wife, and so I was like, I'm going to need help with my bookkeeping. So Michelle has stayed on to help me with that. So that is our office staff, and again, I just want to thank them very much, especially this year with me taking over the office. They have been a really big part of that. They have helped me so much get everything put together, all these transitioning, all these new things we want to roll out, whatever I ask them to do, there's no questions asked. They just do it and they help me out. And so I appreciate that very much, and I thank them because without them, we wouldn't have this today. They do a lot of the back work with this and getting all this planned and scheduled. So without them, we wouldn't have the Fort and Lowsfield Law Office. So just want to show my appreciation to them and thank them for all they do. I know, so we'll get to a slide here too about we're trying to ramp up our social media some more that Hannon didn't quite have going as much. And and so we realized a lot of people are on Facebook and doing things like that. So we want to have a Facebook presence as well. So some of you may have seen these pictures on Facebook, but I thought it would be nice just to show those of you who don't have access to Facebook or online or anything, a couple of fun things that our office did this year. So we did a trunk or treat on the squares. Abby and Allison so graciously volunteered to do that for us. I had a workshop that night, so they were doing the trunk or treat for our office, and then I have Holton and Bo there. I forgot to mention when they were up here, they're obsessed with the Ninja Turtles now, and so Bo was Raph and Holton was Mikey. So that's that, and then we recently did, a week or two ago, we went and decorated some spruce pots at Shannon's First Floral next to our office, and had a good office bonding time there. So I just wanted to share those about what we've been doing lately. Okay, so next is the education and training. So the things that I have done this year as part of my life plan commitment of keeping myself updated and going to trainings to figure out what is everyone doing nationally and in Minnesota for estate planning and elder law attorneys, and what can I bring back to you as big law updates that affect your trust plans or LLCs you'll see, and ways to make your trust better. So last year, if you remember, we did a huge, big update and amendment of adding a bunch of paragraphs to your trust to make it better. So know that we won't have that again this year. We just have a couple of law changes and things that we can now do for medical assistance planning, but these are the trainings I have gone to make sure I stay updated. So with taking over the office, I was a little conservative with traveling to some of these trainings and things and wanting to make sure that I was good to go financially and had a great first year. So a lot of these were online, but I was able to do the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys annual conference online. So usually that's the one that's held in Arizona that Hannon would go to, and I went to a couple years ago. So if all goes well, my plan is, it's always in May, so my plan is to go to that again this May. But they had posted it online, so I was able to attend that online and still get all of that great information from that conference. And then, as you'll see here in a couple of slides, medical assistance in Minnesota has changed, and how we can now do irrevocable trust to help protect your assets from the nursing home. So medical assistance in Minnesota 2023 update was a big thing that was very helpful for me to listen to on those irrevocable trusts now that we can do in Minnesota. So, and then I attended the Secure Act 2.0 and financial tips, and then I am a member of Wealth Council. I don't know if you remember, Hannon always was as well. So that is just a big networking community of other estate planning and elder law attorneys nationally that are part of this, that put in feedback on drafting documents, and there's listservs and discussions and stuff like that. And they have all sorts of trainings and things. So I attended a couple of trainings online with them, where I did a medical assistance protection trust, this irrevocable trust I've been talking about, did a drafting intensive for that, and a Medicaid proactive planning training. Okay, so for activities and awards, a new thing we had this year, which was very exciting, was we were nominated for the Exceptional Achievement Award with the Windom Chamber. They had their gala last night that Allison and Abby attended, and unfortunately I didn't win, but it was still an honor to be nominated for this award as the community recognizing me taking over and expanding it and from what Hannon has done. So that was awesome. I don't know if you've heard, but Elite won that, which was also very, very deserving for everything they have done and expanded to a new building and things. So, and then of course we have this smooth transition to ownership and great first year for me. So again, I just want to thank you all for making it a great year. The transition went great. Everyone welcomed me with open arms, and I really appreciate that. And we're able just to pick up where Hannon left off and pick up with me with no issues. So I'm very grateful for that, and I thank you for that, for making this first year a success to where we can keep providing great service for you to make your plans the best they could be. Okay, so looking forward, I know that last year there was questions on this with me being a certified elder law attorney. So Hannon was a certified elder law attorney, and I just wanted to let you all know that that is still my plan. I wanted to get the office transition this year, get settled in, do all of those specific priorities first, and then shift my gears to getting to be a certified elder law attorney. So that is on the radar for this coming year, is to work on that. As we talked about last year, it's a huge test that you got to study for, and so I just want to make sure that I'm ready for that and in a good place. The office is a good place for me to be able to do that, but that is still on my radar to get that done. And then also this next year, another big goal of mine is to get admitted to the South Dakota bar to practice in South Dakota. So what a lot of you know is that I've still been able to practice in South Dakota because Hannon has a South Dakota license, and so I'm able to work under him as long as, you know, he knows what I'm doing, knows the LLC specifically and things that I'm doing for the South Dakota clients and reviews those. Then I'm able to do that under Hannon with him being of counsel. So I am still able to practice in South Dakota still right now through Hannon, but I am going to be working on getting admitted to the South Dakota bar next year so that I don't have to worry about that, and I'll be licensed and don't have to worry about going through Hannon for that. That application is thick and long, so it's a process, and you have to wait months to hear back from them. So hopefully next year I can report that I was admitted to the South Dakota bar. So those are the things that are coming up this next year. Okay, and just like we always have, if we ever need to get a referral for you for an attorney in a different state, this happens actually quite often. If you own property in a different state, we're working on trying to get it to your trust. And if I'm not licensed to be able to draft that deed in Arizona, Texas, Florida, wherever, then we need to contact an attorney from those states to draft those deeds for us to get it transferred to your trust. So this is where we go, is estateplanning.com. That is our wealth counsel community that I was talking about, where we go to find other attorneys like me who specialize in estate planning and elder law, and are members of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. You'll see that. That's another link we go to find attorneys. And then the National Network of Estate Planning Attorneys. So there are estate planning and elder law attorneys all over the country and all the states, so we are able to utilize those to find other attorneys to be able to help get your assets transferred. And if you ever need to go there, these are great resources for you to go to as well. If you need to look for family members, friends, anything like that, these are great resources to go to find an attorney like me in a different state. Okay, so the 2023 updates that we have for you this year. So like I said, it's not as extensive as it was last year with all of those updates, but we do have a couple big law changes that will affect some of you, mainly for LLCs. So I will get to that. That's that bottom one, the Corporate Transparency Act. for those of you who have LLCs with our office, it's very important. There's a new filing requirement that we're going to go over. And then I'm kind of working my own from the bottom up, I guess. So then the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is another big thing. There was a case that went through the Supreme Court, the Minnesota, well, it was appealed, and it's a Minnesota case, and that has allowed us now to do those irrevocable trusts in Minnesota to protect your assets from the nursing home. So if you remember, our best option to do that was just gifting to your children early in their individual names. Well, now that we've got these trusts back, it's great, it's better, and I'll explain why in a couple of slides. But now we are able to do those as of this year. And then, of course, we have the federal and state tax and gift tax update. So we'll start out with that first. So there's going to be an increase in the federal and state tax exemption. So right now it is $12.92 million per person. It is going to go up, so that's great to hear, to $13.61 million per person for 2024. So what this also means is that is now the number as well for your lifetime gifting exemption of what you can gift during your lifetime. So obviously last year it was the 12.92, so that's great that's gone up too, to give us more of a lifetime exemption of what you can gift before you have to pay taxes. But remember that in January, it is predicted to sunset and go down to, the federal exemption is predicted to go down to around $6 million per person. And so we don't know for sure if that's going to happen yet, but that's still the prediction. And so we need to be mindful of that, because especially our farming clients that we have, with the value of land these days, it can put you in a taxable estate very quickly. And if this sunsets, it'll put you in a federal estate tax situation very quickly, and that's where they really get us with tax at like 40%. So that's something to keep in mind. And when we have clients coming in and we're seeing where the land's putting them with their values and their total estate, we're looking forward to that. We're thinking, okay, here's your total. You don't have to worry about federal right now, but maybe you want to do some proactive planning to bring your estate down now, so you don't have to worry about if it sunsets and having that $6 million per person in around 2026. So they're predicting it's going to be around 6.2 million. I have there, like with inflation and things, but roughly around that 6 million. Then the annual gifting exemption has increased. So right now this year for 2023, it was $17,000 per year per person that you could give before you file a gift tax return. Now it's going to go up to $18,000 for 2024. The Minnesota estate tax exemption. So this is something that I've been doing my research, looking. I haven't seen anything about them putting it out that it's going to change next year or anything. So the way it looks, my understanding is that it's going to stay at the $3 million, but that's one of those things that if it comes out after January, obviously we'll let you know then. We still with Life Plan, we send out those newsletters. So in the newsletter, I will be able to let you know if the Minnesota state tax exemption has changed. But for now, as far as I'm aware, it's going to stay at the $3 million, and I will let you know if that's going to change. And obviously, you have the opportunity for the extra $2 million per person in Minnesota. It's not automatic like the $3 million is. So a lot of you probably heard me say don't bank on it as an estate tax plan, because you have to actually apply for it and see if you qualify for it on death. And most of you probably know there's a lot of qualifications for that with your homestead credit and having air farming for like 3 years. And there's other things. So it's important to know that you don't automatically get this extra $2 million. You have to be talking to your accountant on death, the surviving spouse, the kids in the family, to be applying for this to see if you qualify to get that extra $2 million, to get up to $5 million then for each person in the state of Minnesota. Okay, so the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is next. So, like I've been saying all morning, we are now able to do these as a new way to protect your assets from the nursing home. After 2005, we weren't able to do them anymore. So basically, the whole existence of Hannon's office, he started it in 2005. So wasn't able to do these trusts anymore by having a trust that having your assets alone in it protects it from the nursing home. So I want to provide another disclaimer, and we talked about this a couple years ago, but if you weren't there, remember that your living revocable trust, having your assets alone in them doesn't protect it from the nursing home. But it gives us that foundation, that unlimited gifting power to be able to get it and gift it out of your name to the kids early, now in your irrevocable trust, to protect it. So I just wanted to remind you all of that the living revocable trust you all have is different. We would have to set up a separate irrevocable Medicaid Asset Protection Trust and put assets in there that you want to protect. So a little overview. So we have the federal statute that governs irrevocable trust that talks about that they can't be counted towards your medical assistance eligibility. That's what all this is about, is getting assets out of your name to see if you qualify for medical assistance to help pay for your stay at the nursing home. But of course, medical assistance has this issue with looking at what your available assets are. You have to be under that certain limit for assets. So the federal government says that assets are not going to be countable if they're in an irrevocable trust if it meets the any circumstances test. And so we'll go over that on the next slide. And then the big case that changed everything for Minnesota is this Guyan case that had went through in 2021 where she had an irrevocable trust and she didn't have any access or anything to it. But the state, Minnesota Medical Assistance, was saying it was an available asset. And so in the end, the court ended up saying, no, the state is superseding what the federal government says here, and she didn't have any access to income or principal, and so these assets in this irrevocable trust should not be countable. And so then that got all of us attorneys in Minnesota wanting to do these. I was hesitant to start doing them before this year once that case went through, because when I went and looked on the medical assistance manual that they have, and that's kind of their Bible and what they go off of, whether you qualify or not, they weren't recognizing these irrevocable trusts yet. And so, I was telling clients, you could do it, but if it gets flagged and it gets denied, we can go to court and we'll win, but we got to go to court and spend money to do that. And I would rather not have to do that for you guys, so I was waiting to do these. And now this year, Minnesota Medical Assistance on their manual is recognizing these now. So I'm putting these out in full swing. When I'm talking to you guys in appointments, I've been bringing them up, and it's something that I'm going to give you a quick overview of them today, but obviously it's another complex animal that has a lot of moving parts to it. So it's better that we just sit down one-on-one and talk about whether this is something that best fits your needs and whether it's something we want to do now or keep in mind for later. Because it is something that you don't necessarily have to wait until you're going into the nursing home to create this. Because before, we were saying that don't gift until the ship is sinking, because when we're gifting to the kids, we have to gift it to their individual names, and we lose that step up in basis. And so that was a big thing that we said, don't gift until we need to. But a big thing with irrevocable trust is we're able to keep that step up in basis with gifting it to the kids. So that is a huge thing that allows us to do that. If you're in a place where you're like, okay, I'm okay with putting this asset in here, I'm okay losing the control of this asset, that's something you can certainly do now before you even know if you need to go into a nursing home or not. But again, come talk to me, we'll sit down, we'll look at your assets and everything to see whether this is something that you want to do now or look at more in the future. Okay, so a quick basic overview of this Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is what it's called. So you typically don't want your cash in them. This is going to be like your farmland, the lake cabin, things like that, assets that you want to make sure get protected from the nursing home and passed down from generation to generation and not be forced to sell it. So the big thing with these trusts, these irrevocable trusts, is that when you put the assets in it, you absolutely, this is where this any circumstances test comes in. Under any circumstances, you cannot have any access or control over the principal of this asset in there. So the trustees of the trust, right now if you're living revocable trust, you guys are probably the trustees of it and in control. Well, with these irrevocable trusts, you cannot be a trustee. You cannot have any access or any control of the assets, because then if you can, the county's going to say, oh, well, that's available to you to access whenever you need it, so we're going to count it. So we have to have you not have any access to that. You can't be a trustee most of the time, almost always. You're going to have your kids as trustees of it, and like I said, you can't have any access to the principal, and it's even better if you don't have any access to the income. That makes it a solid trust to say, we don't have any access to the income or principal of this at all, it shouldn't be included. Now, we can draft these trusts that protects that principal, and you can still get some income. Like, for instance, if you have farmland in it and you're still relying on that income coming in from the land rent, and so we can still have that income come to you with not having control over the actual land or anything anymore. But anything that's available to you and coming to you is still counted and available. So if you're still getting that income, then it's going to be counted, and when you get a medical assistance, that income has to go to help pay for medical assistance then, and then medical assistance pays the rest. So if you're able to swing it, you can even protect the income from these assets and leave the income in there and not get that distributed out to you, and then you protect all of that, even the income, not going to the nursing home as well. So you can't be a beneficiary during your lifetime. You can't have any access to any distributions or anything. So what happens is then your kids are the lifetime beneficiaries. They would have access to it to get distributions out during their lifetime. And in this trust, we laid out how those distributions would go and so forth. So that's something that we can talk about more in person later if we need to, but that's the general gist of it. Let's see. Maybe it is your personal residence that is in this trust because you're okay not having access to not having control of the principal or anything anymore, but you're like, but I'm still alive, I still need to live in this house. We can still do that. You can still retain the right to occupy that residence, even if it's in this irrevocable trust that your kids are now in control of as trustees and the lifetime beneficiaries of. Okay, so a quick overview too of the tax advantages then with this Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is a really big thing that's great is keeping that step up in basis that we couldn't keep before when we were having to give to our kids during our lifetime in their individual names and losing that basis. So this is great that we are able to do these irrevocable trusts again and keep that step up in basis. And so So a way we do that, a quick general explanation for you is there's fancy lawyer language, this testamentary limited power of appointment that we have in there that would allow it to be pulled back from your estate at death, that allows you to keep this step up in basis. So again, another thing we can talk about in more detail, but that's the big general thing I wanted to let you know is you keep that step up in basis. And we have all the lawyer language and stuff that we need in there to keep them grantor trust. So what that means to you guys is that the income and taxes are at an individual tax rate and not the trust tax rate. So that's great. And then for capital gains, the exclusion of capital gains. So if your house is still sold during your lifetime while it's in this trust that you don't own anymore, you know, if you meet these qualifications, you could still maybe get that exclusion of capital gains with it too, if you're still living in it, but the trust owns it. So that's something that's nice as well. Okay, so that is our update of the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. Again, there's a lot to it, but I wanted to let you all know today that I'm in full swing doing them now, that medical assistance is recognizing them. So it's something that you can make an appointment with me if you think that this is something you want to start exploring now, and definitely call the office and make an appointment, and we can talk about these things to see whether if it's something that fits your needs and would be best for you to do. So, you know, the past couple of years when we have these amendments where we say, check the box if you want to do this or have us do this for you, we don't necessarily have that this year. We just have, hey, we can do these. If you think you want to meet with me more to talk about these, then schedule that appointment. That's your to-do list for this update on this trust, is scheduling an appointment with me to see if it's something that you want to be doing, and we can get that process rolling. Okay, the next big law update is regarding LLCs. So I know not all of you have LLCs in here, so this is a change that does not pertain to everybody, but it's a big important change that I wanted to let all of you know today, because a lot of you do have LLCs with our office that we put farmland in to get an estate reduction. And so I wanted to let you know this because it's a new requirement that you have to do when you have an LLC, and you can have penalties and stuff that come with it if you don't. So an important thing that I wanted to go over, one of the big law changes. So Congress had passed this Corporate Transparency Act in 2021. Final regulations going through September of 2022, and it's going to be effective January 1, 2024. So what this is and what this means to you if you have an LLC, so it applies to corporations, LLCs, partnerships. You now need to do a new application form where you are disclosing the beneficial owners and updating them on the beneficial owners and information about them. And again, this is a whole other thing I wanted to give you just a brief, here's this, here's what you need to worry about and do, and then you'll see in the application all the information they're requiring. They're basically wanting to know everything about the owners, and I'll say it's something that I had talked to my accountant about when I met with him this month about it, and he said, and this is Thibodeau here in town, he said that he doesn't think they're going to be doing those for their clients because it's not necessarily like an income tax service. So I don't know that your accountants will be filing these or filling these out for you. So keep that in mind. You can definitely talk to your accountant and maybe financial advisor to see if they can help you do this, but keep in mind they may not do that service for you. So I wanted to let you all know that that is something that we are willing to help you with, since we have a lot of this information for your LLCs. We can do this extra filing for you if you'd like us to, and it would be $100 per application. let's see here. So, those who exercise substantial control over a reporting company that own at least 25% of ownership interest. So that's what I'm saying, that's going to affect basically all of you that have LLCs with our office, because married couples, we're setting it up that you each have 50%, and even if you've gifted to your kids, you still own more than 25% typically. So that's why we wanted to let all of you know that it's going to apply to almost all of you here that have LLCs, that you have to file this. And this reporting it's like a one-time thing that you have to do now, but you have to report on an ongoing basis if anything changes with the beneficial owners. And then you'll have 30 days that you have to report those changes and file that application again. So you have to file the initial report within 30 days of formation once you create an LLC. It allows 90 days, though, to file that initial report for any entities, LLCs, corporations, and things that are filing in 2024. Most of you are probably like, okay, but we have existing LLCs. When is our deadline to report? So existing entities, they're required to report by January 1 of 2025. So we have time, and this is something I have LLCs I have to worry about as well. So for all of us who have these LLCs now, we have to report by January 1 of 2025. So again, this is something that it's not a check the box you should do and let us know. It's if you have LLCs, you need to know this and know that you need to get it done. And if you want us to help you with that, contact our office to let us know and get that rolling. And like I said, there's penalties if you don't do it in time, of course. Okay, so we always have an educational piece to our client meeting. And so with the LLC, the new law with the LLCs, and especially with inflation and land values these days, a lot of clients are in taxable estates right now for the state of Minnesota. So what I wanted to do is do a refresher and an educational piece on LLCs and how those can help you with the state reduction and other benefits too that you can set it up for, even if you don't do it for a state reduction. So it's not going to apply to everybody. Not everyone needs to go and get an LLC, but I wanted to do this because I don't think Hannon has done an educational piece on this for a while, and I've been doing a lot of LLCs this year, specifically for our farming clients with the land values bringing up their estate. So wanted to do a refresher on that. So 3 big benefits are the estate reduction, discounting that it gives you, asset protection, and help save self-employment tax. So what we'll talk about first is the estate reduction. So what we do is, and again, this is something you come in and set up a meeting with me and to decide whether an LLC is right for you, whether you need to do it or not. We'll go through all this, and what we'll do is we look at your asset list that we have, and we will value up all your assets that you have. We want to give fair market value for the land. So a lot of you probably met with me already, and I say, okay, the property tax statement number is typically lower than fair market value. So we don't want to go off of that number with calculating what your total estate would be to figure out if you're in a taxable estate or not. We want to use that fair market value of what we think it would sell for based off of what other land is selling for in the area and the average that it's going for. So what I've been hearing from clients is it's still around, $10,000 to $14,000 an acre on average. Obviously, some go for way more than that. So keep that in mind. That's what I'm still hearing on values. And so we use that number, the fair market value of the land, and we We add that up in total with all your other assets. Bank accounts, CDs, money markets, retirement accounts, non-retirement investments, your death benefit of life insurance, all of that, vehicles, personal property, we add all that up then to see where you're at and see whether you're in a taxable estate or not. Whether you're over the $6 million as a married couple or $3 million as a single person. So that's what we start with first, add it all up. And then with Minnesota, if you are over the $3 million when you pass away, it starts out at like 10% that you're taxed, but the average that we have been seeing is that 13 to 16% is the average of the percentage of tax for the estate tax in Minnesota. And then, like I said, the federal government, everything over 12.92 this year, 13.61 next year. Everything over that, you're taxed at 40% that you're over. So we'll add everything up and look and see where you're at and go from there. So how this estate reduction works, if you are over the estate tax exemption and we want to figure out, okay, well, how much can we bring this down and bring your estate down? Can we bring it completely down so you have no estate tax, or can we still bring it down some where we limit that estate tax? So how that works and gets us that discount is some of you probably heard me say is we can get like a 25 to 30% discount on the land at death from the appraisal by having it in an LLC. And how that works is this lack of marketability and lack of control. When you own this LLC, to kick in this discounting, you gift shares to your kids, but we say there's not a certain amount, you necessarily have to give to kick it in. We just need multiple owners to get that multiple owner discount. So most people, what we do is if they're setting it up for estate tax reduction, we have the kids, gifting the kids about 2% total of shares in the LLC, and that can kick in the discounting then that on death, an appraiser is going to come in and appraise this land and see that it's in an LLC, it has multiple owners, there's this lack of control because obviously in the LLCs, we're going to have them following their trust plans with you can't sell for this long or at all, or who you can sell to first and things like that. So these are the big things that help give us that discount on death that comes from that appraisal on death, and the appraisal will come in lower than what fair market value would be if it was not in an LLC. So then getting that lower appraisal on the land brings your total estate down then, and that's how we can help get estate reduction. And obviously you can keep gifting shares to your kids because obviously the less shares that you own, it's less that's going to be in your estate and counted when you pass away. But you just have to keep in mind that when you are gifting shares in an LLC to your kids while you're still alive, we're losing that step up in basis of that. So we put farmland in these LLCs for that estate reduction, and so you lose that basis. But we say, for the benefit to get this 25 to 30% discount to save estate taxes, 2% total or a little bit more to the kids without a step up in basis is not as big of a deal. Especially if they don't plan to resell it either, then it's worth it to do that. Okay. I haven't seen any questions so far, but if I miss any hands, please let us know, and remember you can ask questions as we go. I know talking about LLCs, it's kind of, it's a lot, it's complex again. So again, come talk to me where we can sit down and really go through this slower and in more detail to see if it fits your needs. Okay, another big thing that you can get with an LLC that I have clients that set it up for this reason and not for estate reduction because they don't have to worry about it. They're below the estate tax exemption or they are South Dakota clients who don't have to worry about an estate tax. They're setting it up for the asset protection that comes with an LLC. And there's different levels of asset protection that you can get. Specifically with the South Dakota LLC, we can get better asset protection, and I'm going to explain that in the next couple of slides. So you get asset protection through the limited liability that just having the LLC offers, and then you get asset protection through a charging order with the South Dakota LLC. Okay, so the limited liability, the shareholders and members, they all have a limited liability, so the limit of their liability is how much they've invested into that LLC corporation. But you can pierce that veil. And I know some of you have probably heard me talk about that before, but you can lose your protection by violating the rules for the entity. And then that person who's suing you for millions of dollars because someone got hurt on your farmland even though they were trespassing, if you break this veil, they're still going to get it even if we have this South Dakota LLC. So Hannon was always very proud of this. He would always, some of you probably have drawings in your notes from him of talking with LLCs from him in the past about drawing his duck and his pig, and he was always very proud of that. But that's something that is big with this asset protection and not piercing that veil, is you need to walk like a duck, talk like a duck. So with these LLCs, you need to act like these big corporations, Wells Fargo, US Bank, all these other big LLCs. You need to do the things that they are doing too to keep this asset protection and have a valid LLC. So those kind of things is you have all sorts of these documents that you have to form when you create this LLC that you have to have in your book. And that is something that we help you with. And that's part of it. You have to do annual filing fees, paying like $150 a year. So you'll have those. You're going to have extra accountant fees and things. So there are some hassles to it that we need to sit down and weigh out the pros and cons with you. But those are all the things you have to do. And you have to have liability insurance on the land and things. So you have to do all those things to not pierce that veil to make sure you have asset protection. Personal piggy bank. So the assets that we have in the LLC, we want to make sure to keep that protection. We don't want to be commingling it with any of your other personal assets. And with these LLCs that we're doing for estate reduction is we are just putting your farmland in it specifically because that's what we need a drop in value on, or that's what we need the asset protection for. So we're not putting we can't put your personal residence or anything in there. We have to keep those separate to keep that protection. So this is just a diagram, and I know you might not be able to read this very well, but you have it in your slides, and I'll just explain it. So how that asset protection works, and so the difference between a Minnesota LLC and a South Dakota LLC, and why we like South Dakota LLCs better for the asset protection. So with Minnesota LLC, you have your LLC, you have your individual assets, and you have the creditors. I always use this example. Someone is snowmobiling on your land, coyote hunting, and they're trespassing, but they're like, well, we know the farmers want them dead, so we're just going to go get it, right? Well, what if they get into an accident, paralyzed, they kill themselves? Their family might come back after you and sue you for millions of dollars for this person now being paralyzed or passing away. And so usually there's judgments, this happens, that come out for millions of dollars, and you got these creditors trying to sue you. And so for Minnesota, it says that it can get what's in the LLC, it can't get your individual assets. So that's a big thing for us is because the most important assets that we want to protect are in the LLC, the farmland or the lake cabin or whatever. But we have those assets that we want to make sure are protected and creditors can't get at. So a South Dakota LLC, that veil of protection is, it's in between the creditor. So like you have your creditor over here, you have your veil of protection. I'm just like envisioning how I draw it out on paper. And then you have your LLC and your personal assets. So since your LLC and your personal assets are on this side, and there's this veil here and then the creditor, it's saying with the South Dakota LLC, they can't get at your LLC or your individual assets. The only remedy they have is a charging order. Okay, so charging order. So South Dakota law says that a creditor can get their millions of dollars from you through a charging order only. So what that means is that when any distributions are coming out of your LLC. So this box here, your LLC, and I have a farmland and money in there because that's mainly what our clients have in there is their farmland. And obviously you're going to have an LLC bank account that your rent and things are going into and paying expenses out. So they can't get at those assets that are in the LLC once you distribute out. So the idea is with these LLCs is that, like I said, you're paying rent to the LLC and you're using that account to pay for property tax statements, insurance, things like that relating to expenses for the land, the asset that's in the LLC, and then anything left over is distributions you can then distribute back out to yourself individually. And a disclaimer, a really big thing with LLCs is you have to worry about that income in LLCs because that income's being reported to an LLC. You have to do a separate tax return, have a separate tax ID number, and you're taxed at a higher income tax rate rather than your individual rate. So it is important that you get all the expenses you can out of there for the farmland, and then anything remaining that year, you distribute it back out to yourselves so then you can be taxed at that individual tax rate. So those distributions, though, or if you're sued, right, obviously if you have no creditors out there and stuff, distribute out to yourselves to help with that income tax. But if you're sued, then we have to see if we can swing turning off those distributions and paying some extra taxes, and hopefully you can get by without those distributions out and having access to that land rent and things anymore. And shutting off those distributions for a couple of years, and then these creditors, their attorneys, they're mad. They thought they were getting $10 million and they've gotten nothing because they don't get anything until you distribute out. So then what we say is if you want this charging order off your heads, you go back, offer them your umbrella policy on the land, $1, $2 million, whatever it is, and they're likely going to take it and go away. And you've saved yourself millions of dollars, saved your farm and things that are in the LLC. So that is the big difference with South Dakota LLCs is you get way better asset protection. And I know a lot of you are probably wondering, yeah, but we live in Minnesota, our land is in Minnesota. How can we even do a South Dakota LLC? So it's actually really easy. South Dakota makes it easy for you. You just have to have your corporate office in South Dakota. So just like these big corporations, Wells Fargo and things, they can pick the state where their headquarters or corporate office is in that has the laws that best fit their company, and then they can have the separate branches and offices in different states that all fall under that corporate office laws. And so South Dakota allows us to do that, and we just say, we have a registered agent, our corporate office, with a South Dakota address. And so a lot of you probably have LLCs that you have Hannon's LLC as the registered agent, because Hannon has set up his LLC registered agent because he has friends in South Dakota with a South Dakota address. So that's literally all you have to do is get that registered agent in the South Dakota address, and you have a South Dakota LLC. And it's easy because we have the access to say, here's who we have for you. If you don't know anyone, obviously you can use anyone you know, friends, relatives in South Dakota with an address, but we're also able to tell you we can use Hannon. And also, I plan to register my LLC as a corporate registered agent, and with me being from South Dakota, I am able to use, my plan is to use my dad's address. So then I can be a registered agent for all of my clients that I create LLCs for moving forward. But right now, I'm able to still use Hannon. Hannon's okay with that. All the clients I've used so far seem to be okay with that. You just pay them $50 a year. So you are going to have to pay a registered agent. And if you don't have Hannon or I, then, and you don't have any friends or relatives you know that won't charge you, South Dakota makes it easy. You can go on the Secretary of State website, and you can just pick from all these people who signed up to be registered agents, and you just pick one and pay them, and you got yourself a South Dakota LLC. So it really is as easy as that. So even if you're in Minnesota land, it's okay. If this is something you think that you want to explore more for state reduction, asset protection, come talk to me, and we'll talk about a South Dakota LLC. Okay, and then obviously the self-employment tax, you have choices of how to be taxed. I'm just going to briefly go over this. This is something that I say, we know about taxes, but I am not an accountant, not a financial advisor. We should seek those professionals for that advice, right? So they specialize in this. They know all the laws. They study in this all the time, whereas I'm estate planning elder law specialist. So I always like to say and circle in these accountants and financial advisors to help us with that. But know that there's some self-employment tax savings that you can have, and you can be taxed differently to help save some income tax. So like an individual LLC can be taxed as a sole proprietor or an S corporation. Multiple member LLC can be taxed as a partnership or an S corporation. So something that I learned with my LLCs that I created for the office, the Ford and Lustfield Law Office LLC, is I am the only member on that. And Hannon, he had him and his wife as equal shareholders, and so I started it out with just me, just for the ease of loans and things like that. And so I asked my accountant in my meeting with him this month, I was like, so should I make Jesse, my husband, a half owner on this? But he said, you're better off just leaving it like this to keep your S corp status and just you as an individual, so then it's just taxed on your individual tax rate, and I don't have to worry about necessarily like a separate tax return or things. It just goes through my individual return. So a lot of moving parts and complexity with that. Talk to your accountants about it, but there are ways that you can elect to be taxed to help save some income tax for you that your accountant might recommend. Okay. There's limited partnerships and things, so a general gist of that, of why an LLC is better, is we're moving from these partnerships to the LLCs because of the discounting and the asset protection are the big takeaways from this slide of why we're doing LLCs and not partnerships. Okay, so a quick overview of why LLCs are better and the new way to do things. Members get to choose the managers. We can have you being the members and managers. So typically the husband and wife are the manager, the other one's the secretary and treasurer, and we make sure that we're voting by shares, and you always have a controlling amount of shares, so you're always in control, and that the kids don't ever have more than you to have more control than you. Obviously, if you keep gifting and gifting, that's a risk, but maybe that is something that is outweighed for a different scenario. But and also the operating agreement has great flexibility. You can be taxed as an S corp, sole proprietor, and provides discounts to your state. Okay, we're done with the educational program. Again, a lot of things that I'm sure it was a lot to take in. Just know that if this is something you want more information about, call our office, schedule a meeting with me to talk about these LLCs to see if it's something that you might need to do for estate reduction or asset protection. Okay, an overview of Life Plan is now that I've taken over the office. Like I said last year, I'm still continuing the Life Plan program. I'm keeping that going just the same as Annan had did it. The fees are staying the same for 2024, $325 a year for that. I should add, we do have a separate LLC Life Plan that you pay an additional $325 for the LLC Life Plan if you have an LLC. But I'm typically saying that's not usually worth it because the laws aren't often changing with that. And I know that we just had one, but it's usually not worth it to do that. And if you need to do any minutes or updating things, gifting shares, we can help you and just pay hourly for that. And so that's something that new filing that we have to do under this new act that went through for LLCs. If you're an LLC Life Plan, that is no additional charge. That wouldn't be the $100 that I told you. But for those of you not an LLC Life Plan, it probably makes sense, if you're going to have us help, have us help, you pay the $100, you don't pay the $325 a year, because there's not really going to be much more updating and things with that. So I wanted to let you know about that separate Life Plan that I don't know that a lot of clients know about. The benefits are staying the same. I know last year I kept saying free phone calls, free changes, it's no additional charge, right? You're paying the $325 for these services and benefits under Life Plan, but what it's getting you is phone calls with me relating to your estate planning questions. So we want to try to avoid you calling me and talking about your brother's estate plan and using your free time for that, right? We're happy to help you, but we want you to know that this is for you and your estate plan to get those phone calls with me with any questions at no additional charge. And any changes you might need to make, those are at no additional charge, right? Letting us know when you need amendments done to your planning, we will get those done for you at no additional charge. Another thing is updating your asset list and making sure that that's fully funded. We're keeping track of where your total estate is for estate taxes. That is something that we do at no additional charge in Life Plan. And then obviously you get invited to this meeting where we update you on law changes, ways to make your plans better, and things like that. And another additional benefit that you get with Life Plan is that if you are in Life Plan when you pass away, that first initial administration meeting with me would be at no additional charge that I have with your spouse or your kids, your family. If you're in Life Plan that year, that meeting is no additional charge. Otherwise, administration work is charged hourly at that $2.50 an hour. So I've already brought this up, but I've thrown it here on this slide again too, is suggestions for the annual client meeting date. So that's the only big change that might happen with Life Plan in the annual client meeting is when we hold it. Like I said, I think it makes probably more sense to have it after January. And my thought is okay, well, how do we transition into that? Because we probably don't want to turn around and just have one again in a couple of months. But then if we switch it to spring, then we won't have one at all next year. So kind of wanting some feedback. I'm thinking of trying to transition into it where maybe for a year we have like 2 meetings a year, like a spring and a November one still. But wanting your feedback on that and how you think that would work. But I think we might have to transition into it like that and have a couple meetings a year, which it would just be if you can't make it to this one, here it is again with the same thing, right? So please let me know your feedback on that, and that's something that we will take into great consideration to figure out when this meeting will be held next year and how that's all going to work. Obviously, part of your life plan too is you get the newsletters that we send out at the beginning of the year, and so you'll get those recapping this meeting and the law changes we talked about. And obviously, if we change the date and things, we're sending out that information to you with those invites and things, so then you know that how we decided to change it for 2024. Okay, a funding review. So this is another big perk of the life plan that we talked about is keeping your assets updated, making sure that everything is funded to your trust. So meaning that your assets are transferred to your trust. The ownership is transferred to your trust either now or what we have a lot of the more recent years clients we have, and we have it going beneficiary to your trust, payable on death to your trust. So it creates less hassles for you right now when we're changing ownership of something right now. We've run into roadblocks with banks, and you got to update a septic system and all that with real estate. So we just say on death to your trusts. So you want to make sure that look over your asset list. We have provided you in your packet a asset list that we have, the most recent updated asset list we have for you this year. I also want to throw in another disclaimer is that if you had a meeting with me recently, you might notice that some of your numbers haven't been updated. We're still working through some asset lists to update those. So if you see any problems or things that are incorrect on your asset list, let us know. But it might likely be is that we haven't had a chance to get a new asset list updated before this meeting. But it's important, right? We want to make sure that all your assets are in your trust, because that was one of the main points of creating the trust, right? Is making sure your assets don't have to go through probate on death. And so we want to make sure that on death your assets are in your trust. So then that way it will go down through the trust the way we want it to and avoid probate. So as you get new assets, what do? You can certainly call us to let us know, and you can talk to Abby or Allison. Likely you'll talk to Allison as our funding coordinator, and you can let her know, hey, here's what's changed, here's a new bank account, here's the number, here's the value, here's how it's owned. And she can get that plugged into your asset list for you. And you can also email her, and I'll have her email here later. But just let us know, and we're happy to help you and get that updated. So as you get new assets, you can certainly call us an update, or you can wait for this yearly meeting where you're seeing, okay, here's what they have on file for me. Things have changed, and you can update yearly. But you can obviously certainly update us as you go and get new assets and things too. To be able for us to get it onto your asset list, we need to have that information. So like I said, we need to know what kind of asset it is, the account number, how it's owned, the value, to be able to update it on your asset list. So however you want to get us that information, if you're wanting to tell us by phone, put it in an email, or send us just copies of the statement of the new asset, and we can just pull that information right off of there. Whatever works easiest for you. I know that too, you can use your asset list that you have as kind of a working copy to make any changes to it, and you can drop off or mail back that asset list with your changes on it that we will then use to update it and send you out a new one. So how can we help you with making sure that your assets are funded to your trust? So we can certainly work with any of your advisors. I know a lot of people that we've dealt with, if they open new accounts at Edward Jones, Thrivent, or wherever, I can say, just have them contact us or fax or email that over. We work with them all the time. You can just have them get us the information to help you out and kind of have you be left out of it, and then me and the advisor can just handle it for you. So that's something we can do. Maybe you're getting forms in the mail of, hey, we want more information filled out to be able to get this asset to your trust. You can definitely get that to us, mail it, email, drop it off. We will fill it out for you. We just need your signature and we get it sent off for you. So when you see those forms and you see all this information, it's very overwhelming. Just know, get it to us. We can fill it out for you. We know the information that would need to go on there, and we get it sent off for you. And obviously, we get you those asset lists once we get the information updated and get that back out to you. So with Life Plan, kind of a review of the commitments for you and us in Life Plan. So your commitments as clients, we try to do our best to do everything we can do to help you make sure that your plan is the best it can be and make sure your assets are funded and everything goes the way you want it to. And so there's a lot of the work that we're able to do for you, but a couple of things that we're not able to do for you we'll go over on our client to-do list in the next slide. So there are some actions that you would need to do to make sure that your plan is how you want it. Getting us any suggestions, especially this year, with all these new suggestions that we're wanting to hear about and how we can do things better, things that you like we've done different. You can get those into us, and especially with that date, too, of the annual client meeting. That's how you can help us make the Life Plan the best plan for you to keep you updated. And obviously, you have to help us update your asset list, get us that information, and then we update the asset list for you. So the law firm to-do list, so our commitment to you with Life Plan is I'm committed to stay updated as well and go to these trainings every year and make sure that I'm updated with the law changes as it relates to estate planning and elder law, and make sure that I can then come back to you every year to update you on that and let you know how you might want to update your plans accordingly. And once you guys let us know any amendments you need to do or changes to your trust, then obviously we are going to prepare those amendments for you at no additional charge and get those sent back out to you. And keeping you updated for 2024, again, keeping you updated with your asset lists and things. So that's an overview of our commitment. Client to-do list. So this is where I'm going to circle back to that green reminder that you have in your packet. So what that is so remember it used to be that citation. So these were the three main things that we said are on your to-do list that you need to help us with to make sure you have the best plan. So that personal property memorandum that you have at the back of your book, we highly recommend you fill that out. Personal property in past experiences is usually the cause of family fights, so we highly recommend filling that out of, I want this ring to go to this person, this gun to go to this person. If you have specific people you want those things to go to, make sure you write it down. Yes, your spouse or your kids might know that you want it to go that way, but they can forget. We're all human, right? Write it down. So that way they know how they have to distribute things rather than it just maybe just going all to your kids and they get a pick or sell it all, you know. This allows you to give certain things to grandkids right away or things like that. So a reminder, this is important to fill out. Obviously, it's not a requirement, but we highly recommend it. And so then this is where I say take your green bookmark as a reminder and put it in your book in front of the personal property memorandum. If you haven't done so already, then it's there sticking out, reminding you that you need to do this personal property memorandum. And then funeral planning. So you have the memorial instructions in your book as well next to the personal property memorandum. Another thing that is not required to do, it's not a legally valid and binding document. It's just something that we provided in there for you as something that we recommend to fill out. It's a good gift to your spouse and your kids to let them know your wishes, how you want things happened with your funeral and memorial. So then that way they can take the time to grieve and not have to worry about, oh my goodness, what scripture, what music does mom want, and all these things. It's already laid out for them. And you've probably heard me say an even greater gift to your kids is doing the prepaid, pre-funded funeral home policy. So then you can go to your local funeral home, like we have Lacan here in town. I know that does these, where you can go and pre-fund your funerals and to make sure it's paid for, and it helps you save some money too by doing that. And then you can make sure everything is paid for, it's done, all the details are laid out for your kids, even more than what we have in that memorial instructions document. At the funeral home, you can go and plan it out even more in depth, obviously. Question?
Is that monitored by the state? Is that monitored by the state, the money that we give to a funeral home? Is there some oversight somewhere, or we have to live on the mortuary that we're working the funeral there?
Yep, so the question was, is there any oversight on this money that you're giving to the funeral home? You know, are you at the mercy of them and then you could lose your money? So how it works is it's not the funeral home money. They have to have it in these like separate like trust accounts basically. So they don't have access to it until you pass away. So there is that where it is in this like separate account and things. They can't, obviously they're not supposed to just use it for their, whatever they need it for. You know, there's always that risk of people committing fraud and not doing things the way we want them to. But the way they have these set up is they have them separately, that they're not, it's not their money, it's not in their operating accounts or anything like that. It's separate and it's there for when you pass away. Another question.
On the same note, is there a look back on that for the government as far as, spending on assets? Is there a 5-year look back on like funeral home expenditures?
So the question was, is there a look back, like a 5-year look back for funeral home expenditures and creating this and putting this money into this? So no. A look back occurs, like 5-year look back for whether you apply for medical assistance is looking at, have you gifted anything to anyone that you received less than fair market value back for? So by putting your money into this service for the funeral home, you're not gifting to anybody, so it's not going to kick in any look back like that. Any other questions? Okay. And I should add, right, I always end up saying prepay, but it's really pre-fund now, because obviously when you create them, you figure out how you want things and the amount of money it's going to total and that you want to pre-fund. But there are, when you pass away, there might be a chance that with inflation and things are gonna cost more than what you've pre-funded. So keep that in mind. I don't know for sure, but I would assume that you can go back to these funeral policies and maybe add more to them and pre-fund some more money. I don't know for sure. You want to talk to your funeral home, but keep that in mind. Is you're pre-funding it, but that doesn't mean that whatever that price comes at death, if it doesn't cover all of that, the family would have to pitch in and pay the rest from your estate. So, important thing to keep in mind. And obviously, as you have questions, use that no additional charge phone calls. Call us as you have questions. We are here for you. We want you to ask us. We want to make sure that you understand what's going on, and we're keeping everything updated. So call us, and we'll give you an answer. What we don't want to have happen is have a couple hour long phone calls that we're getting at no additional charge. That's when you want to come in, sit and talk to me in person. In-person meetings with me are charged hourly. That is what is not free or no additional charge in Life Plan. But obviously, utilize those phone calls. Ask your questions away. Typically what we do is we schedule half-hour blocks for the phone calls. If you need longer than that, we're willing to go up to an hour, but above that, we need to schedule an in-person meeting with me then. I have our emails on here. So I have Allison's, so then that way you have her email as a funding coordinator on your packet that you can email her directly with any updates to your assets that she can get updated for you. I have Abby's as well to reach out if you need to schedule meetings or need to talk about, get phone calls and stuff set up to talk about amendments or changes you need. And then my email is there at the bottom. Okay, so like I said, we just launched our new website. Here is the link to it. I don't know that this link has gone live yet. Abby's shaking her head at me. So know that this is the website, but I would assume that by early next week you could go to it and it's going to be working. We're just waiting on our tech guy to get the domain to work. Otherwise, it is all ready and set up, and it's been quite the process, but I use this as a goal to get it done by. So we literally sent some information off to her to put into it at like 4:30 yesterday. So we're very excited about that, and that is the website that you can go to. Again, you have it on your materials, on your printouts, on your slides. I was going to show you, give you a quick run through of it, but that will take some more time, and I want to let you guys go. So I put a quick little snippet, a screenshot here of what it looks like. So this is from my phone, and so it kind of condenses things. But if you go to the blue bubble up there with the lines, and you get yourself to the contact information, you're going to find also the YouTube link. So I think we have it on a slide. We do. But on our website, once that's up and going, you can go there to click on the YouTube link where you will find this video posted within 30 days. So without having to worry about typing it in things, you can find it there. Okay, so we also have, again, we talked about our Facebook and things. Some of you know that, some of you are following already, and I thank you for that, and thank you for your support online. But I wanted to give this to you guys too and have it on your materials to follow us on Facebook at Ford and Lustfield Law Office. We also have an Instagram. I realize most people probably don't have that. We do have it, but the main things that we wanted to let you know was the new website, Facebook, and the YouTube link. So we have the YouTube link there again so that you have it on your materials to go and look at this presentation. All right, so that's all I have for you. Again, it was kind of a lot in one meeting, so please call us if you have any questions. Come meet with me if you have any questions about these Medicaid Asset Protection Trusts and LLCs. Get your asset list turned into us if there's any changes. Otherwise, that's all I have, and I thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the nice weekend.